Don't stop.
fast as I can.
We have caught 4 stags, 6 does, 10 quill rats, 3 rabbits, and 160 large snakes. Some do not want to tempt fate by hunting such fearsome creatures. I say, when will we have this chance again?
Hi, this is Dusty. Today I'm going to go over what's close to the final iteration of my crowd control hybrid rogue build. As you can see, I'm level 98 now, so I'm getting very close to maxing out my Paragon board, and I have a solid idea of where that's going. The build still needs a bit more equipment optimization, but other than that, everything's pretty much set. First, let's go over my stats real quick. As you can see, I'm level 98. I'm trying to raise my intelligence. I'll explain why I need that much intelligence later. For now, I'm delving into as many damage buckets as I can. The critical damage one, the vulnerability one, the versus one, which is all these things, the width ones, and a few more that aren't really listed here, but I'll explain that later. As for the equipment I'm wearing, this crossbow is the one that you get from that one guaranteed drop over in this one region from the NPC roughly here. Like, it's a guaranteed drop, but problem is the item level, which is this one's 134. Well, the range of what item level that guy can drop depends on your level. So I am gonna upgrade this one last time once I hit level 100. So my damage will increase based on that alone, and it's not even the best vulnerability damage roll. Also, I switched to the crossbow because of the vulnerability damage. As you can see, there's a 60% that comes with the weapon, and there's a 58.5% on my affix reroll. So it can get better. As for my swords, I'm trying to go with as many damage buckets as I can. As you can see, critical strike, vulnerability, damage 2. Same here, critical strike, vulnerability, 4 damage, and damage 2. Same with the rings. Well, this one still requires me to replace, because this one does not have vulnerability damage. This one does, however. So I'm still this ring does need to be replaced later. As for the amulet, I cannot find anything even remotely similar to this, because having that many attack stats on a amulet is extremely rare, so I can't replace this. Yeah, it's going to be really tough going through a season trying to find an amulet like this one, so best of luck. As for the helmet, this can get better. I'm hoping to... Right now, I'm planning to swap out this helmet so I could have more basic attack speed. I'll explain why later. But I do want the intelligence and the all stats and the maximum life. The total armor is not that great. As for the armor, it's all damage reduction. I found that I have enough attack, so this is for mainly defense purposes. because I found that it's easier to, well, it's better to survive longer than to hit just a tiny bit harder. Frostburn, as usual, very good. Temerity for the defense. Penitent Greaves, so I could have easy access to chill. Alright. As for skills, I've actually, well, I run with Inner Sight for a specialization. Skills, I did change a little bit. Like, there's no change between Invigorating Strike and Puncture, they're still the same. Same with these two. Same with these passives. I guess I should go over it. Puncture is so I could put an enemy back into vulnerable state if it does somehow run out. Like, I do get automatic vulnerability with exploit, which, if you read the extra description, and any enemy damaged by me becomes vulnerable for 3 seconds. This can happen once every 20 seconds per enemy, meaning anything I do that does damage automatically applies vulnerable, but the same monster can only be put into a vulnerable state this way once every 20 seconds. So that's what Puncture is there for the most part. Invigorating Strike, I think this has a small lunge, but more importantly, the energy regeneration. Since I have Penitent Greaves, this is always going to give me 30% extra energy regeneration. Rapid Fire, I have nothing that increases the Rapid Fire's attack power, but it still does an immense amount of damage, and it goes up to plus 25 more crit chance, which is already pretty good, considering that I have a 40%. Let's see, I have a 40% crit chance. My ring gives up to 9%. So that's 49%. Plus 25%, that's 74%. So a good 74% chance to crit with Rapid Fire, which is why it's doing so much damage with crits. And it's extra cheap, since if I hit a vulnerable opponent, it refunds 15 energy with the energy cost of 25. That means it's 10 energy per use for the most part. Damage reduction, siphon some HP. Absolute must. Flurry. Again, why would I use Flurry over Twisting Blades? That's because Flurry has a higher attack per second. It goes a lot fast. It basically attacks each opponent 4 times with each use, and with how fast you can spam it, you're pretty much well, you're hitting like 8 attacks per second, so there's that. Yes, I do know that Twisting Blades hits harder, but this has a wider range and hits more enemies at the same time. Also, it recovers some HP and spreads vulnerability, so that's always a plus. Weapon Mastery, a must. What's new is that with Concussive Strike, I could knock down dazed opponents, since I do daze my opponents quite a bit. and I do just a tiny bit more crit chance against enemies knocked down. I mean, that tiny bit of extra crit chance isn't all that important. What's important is that you knock the opponent down, because days lasts only 2 seconds. Knocking them down is like another 1.5 seconds, and it's going to take about another second for them to get up. So that's a really long CC time. Or, yeah, that's a really long time to be not able to do anything, especially for the opponent. I actually removed the energy boost from concealment. I mean, this is still a unstoppable ability. As for why I'm using this over something like Shadow Step, it's because I can actually sneak into a crowd if I need to, and just assassinate the elite monster that's causing me problems. Which is extremely hard to do with Shadow Step, since, well, especially on a controller, since you can't specify which enemy the Shadow Step's gonna hit. So if you're using mouse and keyboard, maybe Shadow Step is a better idea. But for me on the controller, this gives me more precision. Again, since I'm chilling and freezing my opponents, I'm using this passive, which gives me 15% more on chilled opponents and 30% on frozen opponents. But what's more interesting about frozen opponents is that they take a different a new modifier. It's like a completely new bucket that's not listed. So I'm not exactly sure how much more damage a frozen enemy takes, but they take a whole lot more damage. As usual, I'm using Shadow Clone, up to 80% more damage when up to 80% more damage. Innovation, because you're going to need all the energy you get. This build is mostly speed-based, so you need the lucky hit and the energy replenishment in order to keep this build mostly functional. Again, 15% increased energy regeneration while you're on the move, which is very useful since this build is pretty much on the move all the time. More attack speed if I'm below 50%, which doesn't happen all that often. But it's a nice movement speed increase for most of the time. And unlike most builds, I'm running with close quarter combat. This is a 20% speed boost if I use a ranged attack and a melee attack close enough to each other, and it's a 20% more damage, 20% more damage against crowd-controlled enemies, which is pretty much a guarantee since I'm using penitent stuffs. Like, just walking next to them will pretty much give me that 20% damage boost. As for the Paragon boards, well, I'm not gonna go into anything too specific, but I did make a build on a D4 planner, so that if you need to go into exact, I'll have it in the link. But overall, I placed a glyph socket here on the first board. This is the second board I went to is the exploit weakness board, which gives me, well, let's just say a lot of vulnerability damage, and I'm using the control glyph here. Third board is I went for is the cheap shot board. The glyph I used here is the chip. This is the following board I went through is the cunning stratagem board, which I'm using the exploit glyph. Very useful. And the final board that I went through is the tricks of the trade board, in which I'm running the turf glyph. I still have about 3 more strength nodes to reach, which will make me go to exactly level 100, and that will grant me about 29.7% more damage against close opponents. So it's not a massive damage boost, but it is a damage boost. As for why I need all that intelligence, is because on the final board is extremely expensive. Like, I could not afford this. I cannot afford to bring that much strength and dexterity, but I could bring my intelligence up, so I was able to enhance this final node. So, the strong points of this build. The strong points of this build is that it can take down elites extremely quickly with DPS that is around 2 million, and if you have Shadow Clone up, it's pretty much 3 million. Well, that is if the Shadow Clone is actually hitting the same target, which it's usually not. So what Shadow Clone usually does is just spread the damage all around. So pretty much everything on screen dies in a few seconds. So if you need a screen clear, Shadow Clone is the one. But if you can manage to concentrate them all into one opponent, it's pretty much 3 million DPS for an elite opponent. As for, I know I did one particular move quite a lot in the video. This move. This is actually just 2 buttons. This is invigorating strike, and like, I know it looks weird and fancy, but all I'm doing is holding 2 buttons. I basically just start with this, so I can activate close quarter combats for 20% more damage or speed boost, and then I just hold the invigorating strike and flurry to do this particular move. As for what I'm actually doing for the bosses, I'm basically throwing this out, throwing out puncture along with flurry, which is really fast, and rapid fire, so it goes really quickly. I mean, it goes so fast that it almost looks like one motion. One second. But yes, like, I know it looks complicated, but it's actually just holding a few buttons and, yeah, it's just holding a few buttons from time to time. anyways, what else? What else? Oh yes, and the final thing about this build is the ranged attack is pretty much functional, so as you can see, it's not the best range attack in the world, but it is capable of destroying opponents from a range. So it's definitely not like penetrating shot, but it works. It works. So this build is very capable from a range, or at range, and it's absolutely deadly up close. So that's a major plus for this build. Anyways, I think that about covers it. Anyways, I did make a build from the D4 planner, and I think I linked it to the description. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.